Passionate, driven, enthusiastic, euphoric. This is who we are as entrepreneurs. But how we leverage these incredible attributes to dream and build businesses that scale and grow is what this podcast is all about. Hello, I'm attorneypreneur Josh Brown, and welcome to Franchise Euphoria. Hello and welcome to another episode of Franchise Euphoria. Today we are talking with an entrepreneur that started in the pool business and now is a content marketing guru. Yes, I am stoked to have Marcus Sheridan on the show today. Marcus is the host of the wildly popular Mad Marketing podcast and creator of thesaleslion.com, a blog focused on changing the way businesses teach and think in the digital world. He is passionate, energetic, and a family guy to his core. In business, Marcus is changing the way businesses do what they do. And if you've ever said to yourself or uttered under your breath, geez, my website is terrible and I need some guidance, I'm pretty sure Marcus is your guy. Or I don't understand this whole content marketing thing. I need help. Marcus helps with that. Or I'm frustrated with my SEO and marketing efforts and need a fresh new perspective that actually works. I'm pretty sure Marcus is your guy, and we are going to talk about this and much, much more today. So let's get rolling. Hello, Marcus, and welcome to the show.
Josh, man, thank you for having me. That was a pretty dang good intro, dude. I just got to bring you around with me, and if I speak or if I have a potential client, I'm just going to say, listen to my man Josh, and then we'll talk, right? So,
well, I love that. I got some of those, geez, my website is terrible and all that stuff from your website because it's brilliant. You actually have a tab that says problems that we solve. I mean, how revolutionary is that? I mean, I love that. And
I got to talk about that for a second, dude, because here's what's amazing to me about most websites. Most websites, especially the home pages, are completely jacked up in terms of the messaging, right? And so let me give you an example. There's two examples, right? Two examples. So the first example is usually you have a main headline on the homepage of your website. And a lot of them look like this. Here's the first example. Innovative, hardworking, service oriented, right? And so those are there's like three great big adjectives, right? And here's the thing. If your headline to your website could be used as a headline to every other website in every other business in the whole wide world, then we have a problem, right? And so, I've literally spoken to about 40,000 people in live audiences and asked this question. And the question is, how would you define a great website? And it's amazing to me, Josh, the answer is almost always the same, no matter who you talk to, and it's always two parts. The first part is, I want to find what I'm looking for, and I want to find it quickly. Those are the two parts. I want to find what I'm looking for, and I want to find it quickly. Well, if somebody goes to your website, they have a problem, a need, etc. That's why they don't care about your company news. That's why they don't care about your widgets. All they care about is, can you solve the problem that I'm currently dealing with right now? And so unless your headline statement addresses the problems that they're dealing with, unless there's another section of your site that specifically talks about the problems that you solve, you're probably missing the mark and not communicating as well as you could. So it's funny that you bring that up because that's definitely a passionate area of mine.
Well, it seems to be the core. I mean, really a core aspect of what you do, right? I mean, and it's something that businesses struggle with so much. And, marketing has been around since the day forever, right? I mean, and everything we do online is to accomplish the same objectives ultimately that we've been doing offline. And it's just different tactical things. And obviously, I think there's a big change, and we'll get into all this, into the content marketing aspect of it in terms of creating things that attract people to you instead of bombarding people with a bunch of stuff that they don't care about. But I've always been amazed as well as you have these multi-billion-dollar international enterprises, and yet everything they tell you about themselves is what they do and how they do it. And they don't get down to that core, why am I doing it? That whole Simon Sinek, Start With Why, that brilliant book that highlights that. And I've always been fascinated by that because I totally agree with you. People buy why you do things, not what you do.
Yeah, and I would, and it's funny to me because when generally speaking, people just don't care about your business. I mean, they don't, and they don't. At first, they don't care about you either. And so that sounds cold, but it's important that we embrace that cold and embrace the reality that the only thing they care about when they come to your site is, what am I looking for right now? What is the question that I have right now? Because it better be answered or I'm out of here, right? Those are the things they're thinking. And if they can't find that, they're gone. And there's a good chance they're never going to come back again, right? And so, the message that I have, Josh, that I'm really trying to preach to the world, if you will, is, we use a lot of technical phrases in this world of sales and marketing, digital marketing. And we say things like content marketing, social media marketing, blogging, inbound marketing. And I could literally just go on and on and on with these technical phrases. But if we strip away all those technical phrases, if we just couldn't use them, how would we describe what we're doing? And to me, it really comes down to 4 essential principles. These 4 principles have been around since the beginning of time. They're never going to go away. And the companies that get this, they're the ones that are dominating online and off. And the 4 are, number 1, do you listen better than anyone else in your industry? And what I mean by that is, do you hear the customers, the prospects' problems? Do you think about it the way they think about it? Do you feel it the way that they feel it? Do you say it the way that they say it? That's number 1. Number 2, do you communicate better than anyone else in your industry in a way that, once again, that prospect or customer actually understands what you're saying? Do you use your fancy words or do you use their words, their way of thinking, feeling, saying it? Number 3, do you see yourself as somebody that's just a business or just in sales, or do you see yourself as a teacher? Because teaching is the critical element that most people, especially digitally speaking, or when it comes to content marketing, they don't get it. The moment you see your company as a teacher, especially I like to say as a kindergarten teacher, that when Johnny, who's sitting in the back, raises his hand and says, ooh, I have a question. Are you willing to answer that question? And are you willing to answer that question in a way that your only goal is for the light bulb to come on with Johnny? Because the goal is not to impress anybody. Because the moment you try to impress anybody online, the moment you try to sound smart as a company is the moment that you look really, really stupid, and you do not generate any trust that way. And then the 4th thing is, can you be more helpful than anyone else in your industry at solving the problems of your prospects and customers? And if you think like that, magic is going to happen. And it doesn't matter what new thing comes out, what new Facebook, what new Twitter, what new this, what new that comes out. This, if you look at the greatest leaders and businesses and speakers since the beginning of time, they understood those 4 things, and it helped make them who they are, who they were. And if you look at the companies that are crushing it today, they get those 4 things. And then if you look at the ones that are going to be crushing it in 50 years, they're going to get those 4 things again. This will not change. And that's the only thing I know. When people say, Marcus, can you tell me about the future? I can tell you one thing, those 4 things are going to be around just as strong then as they are right now.
Well, they're timeless, right? I mean, they're timeless principles. I mean, what you highlight is so good, and I'm so glad we are off to a rapid pace on this interview. And I'm going to dive into those 4 things and many, many more things. I want to give people, for maybe the 1 or 2 people who don't know of you, I want to give them sort of a perspective of your story. First, though, can we take one step back and just kind of say, I know Marcus Sheridan, I know your story, but talk to us about how you went from being the owner of a pool company to now being this motivational marketing guru specialist, and what that evolution was like.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because life is funny, Josh. It really, really is. When I got out of college, I thought I was going to be a teacher. I was either going to be a Spanish teacher or a PE teacher. I was looking for a job, but I was also debating to myself, am I going to be able to make enough money to support my family? Because my wife wanted to stay home and raise the kids. So I was like, okay. And so I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. And I had 2 friends that just started a swimming pool company where they are literally installing above ground swimming pools out of the back of a beat up pickup truck. And this was in Virginia where I live. And so they said, we just got a lease on this retail location where you would sell pool chemicals and hot tubs. And we're going to work out in the field. Would you be willing to, to manage that store? And I said, until I find out, what I'm going to do. Yeah, sure. I'll do that. I need a job right now. I need money. And so to make a long story really short, within 6 months, I became a partner for the company. And we grew, we struggled, but we grew. But in 2008, when the market crashed and home values just plummeted and the banks essentially just cut everyone off from getting financing, as a company, we were in huge trouble. The within 48 hours after the market crashed in 2008, we had 5 people that have put down deposits on swimming pools. And by this point, we're mainly doing in-ground fiberglass pools. We had 5 deposits that were withdrawn, and that's going into the wintertime, Virginia. That's not when you want to lose jobs, and we lost them. By January of 2009, just a few months later, we went through a period of 3 straight weeks where we were overdrawn in our bank account. And what I had pretty much resigned myself to is I was going to lose my home. My 2 business partners were going to lose their home. And it was a time of tremendous pain and stress. Now, during this time, and that's what's so just great, I guess, in a lot of ways about pain, is that it forces us to do things we wouldn't normally do, right? And so in this case, I'm looking all over for solutions, and I start to read about the internet. And as I read all these technical phrases and all this jargon, basically what kept coming to mind was this. Okay, Marcus, so if you, on your website, if you teach better than anybody else, then eventually you're going to get more traffic, leads, and sales than anybody else as well. And so that's exactly what I did. We embraced a really simple philosophy with River Pools. And this 4-word philosophy has literally, it's been embraced by businesses now all over the world, as I've talked about it. And it's they ask, you answer. In other words, if you have ever been asked a question by a prospect or by a customer, it's your moral obligation to address it on your website. And if you do not address it, you're essentially, it's almost like they're coming into your store or your office, they're asking you a question, and you're saying, no, I'm sorry, I can't answer that right now. I know it, but I can't answer it. Go ahead and go down the street. They'll answer it for you. And when you're done getting the answer from them, come back here and we'll do business, which is silly, right? And so we embrace that philosophy. And within a few months of literally taking every question, turning each question into an article on our site, that was the title of the post. And we just essentially started a blog on our website. The traffic, leads, and sales started to grow. And of course, today, River Pools and Spas is the most trafficked swimming pool website in the world. It gets hundreds of thousands of visitors a month. And it's all because we embrace that simple philosophy. It saved the business, and it's very successful today, and so successful that we've even thought, it's funny, Josh, we've even thought about franchising it, and we're becoming now a manufacturer, not just a builder in Virginia, but a manufacturer of fiberglass pools as well, because of just how influential River Pools is in the marketplace. And because of what happened with River Pools, I started a few years ago another blog at the time, but now it's turned into really just a wonderful business where I consult and I teach around the world, and I help companies with all their web marketing efforts. And it's called the Sales Lion. And the Sales Lion is my place where I put all my thoughts and feelings on life and business and all these fancy words we use, and I try to distill it into something really simple that anybody can understand. And so that's what I do, and it's an amazing time. And today I'm just a silent partner with River Pools and Spas. My 2 business partners run that. I don't really have much to do with River Pools anymore, and I just go around, like I said, and I consult and I teach and I speak about this stuff.
So do you think what you're doing right now is what you were truly meant to be doing? It's your true calling?
Well, I know that I was supposed to be a teacher, and in hindsight, I think one of the main reasons, I had no idea at the time, Josh, but one of the main reasons why I started that River Pools blog and I started answering questions prolifically and thinking like the customer was because I was thirsting so much to do more than just, be a sales guy and go into people's homes and sell swimming pools. It just was, for me, unsatiating. And I felt like a stallion that was just pent up and I was ready to run. And in the blog at that time became an outlet for that, and the YouTube videos became an outlet for that, and then the Sales Line became a further outlet for that, and so yeah, I know now I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, but I don't know where it's going to end up. I think the more that we talk about what we believe, the more we figure out what we're really trying to say. And when I started the Sales Line 4 years ago, I thought it was all about sales and stuff like that. Today, what I'm talking about is how can you teach and communicate better than anybody else in the world so that people understand you, so that you can truly help and influence others. That's what I'm trying to say today. But I never would have figured that out if I hadn't have put my thoughts to pen and taken the time so many nights, so late, and just, losing what was extra sleep so that I could try and understand what my message was. And fortunately, I was able to build a brand and a business in the process.
No, that's fantastic. So much of what you're saying resonates with me. And, it's funny in the legal business, in the business that I'm in, I got so pent up and frustrated at trying to fit into another mold that just never fully resonated with me, right? I mean, I've always thought about the legal industry in a different way. I've always kind of had a different way of going about it. I mean, you know, a lot of times you feel like, I feel like the fireman that's, you know, somebody's got a problem, the proverbial, you know, shit hits the fan, and got to call the attorney and have them put out the fire. And I've never had gotten great satisfaction out of that. And I tried to figure out, why is that? And what I've come up with is that really my strength and what I try to do is I want to be that proactive attorney that helps you as a business get to where you want to go. Because if I'm just there putting out fires, you're never really fixing the foundation. You're never really fixing the leaks that you have. Right. And so, but it's a challenge because I'm in an industry that has defined itself a certain way over generations and generations. And so people out there think of attorneys in that one way. And I'm now trying to build my practice on trying to change that and say, you know, even contemplating going to my clients and saying, look, you know, if you're just interested in the attorney that's going to handle the one-off situation, I'm not your guy. I mean, I'm the guy that's going to help you start your business and start it the right way. I'm the guy that's going to help you take your business and grow it the right way. But I'm not going to be there all the time just to put out the fires, because that really doesn't do anything to help get you to that next position. But it's challenging to do that in a business that really hasn't been operating that way. And so anyways, I mean, that's just something about what a challenge that I've been dealing with.
You know, I mean, when you say that though, what comes to my mind is, you know, we read all the time about, you know, figure out, you know, who you are and all this stuff when it comes to businesses. But I actually believe it's more important as a business that you know who you're not than what you are. And the moment you know what you're not, now we can really talk turkey. Now we can start to make incredible progress. Because if you look at life in general, life is about this incredible series of relationships that we have with other people. Sometimes it could be our spouse, it could be our children, it could be our family, it could be our friends, it could be our customers, it could be our clients, it could be anything like that. The happiest people are the ones that figure out the quickest who they want to have a relationship with and who they don't. And the ones that don't figure this out, they never understand what they're not, right? And because they don't understand what they're not, they end up doing business and taking on jobs and taking on clients that something subtly within them says, you know, this is not a good fit. But they take it anyway. They take it because they need the cash flow. They take it for this. They take it for that. And then the response is always the same. It wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it. And I hate what I do. and so that's why, to me, it's so magical when we have this ability to say, no, that's just not who I am. You know, when people come to me, when companies come to me and say, we're really looking to be better with Facebook, can you help us with that? I don't say yes, because it's not my thing. I mean, I love Facebook, but it's not my thing, right? Twitter's not my thing. I'm on Facebook and Twitter, but I don't teach companies how to be world-class with Facebook and Twitter, and I'm okay with that, right? I'm into web design, I'm into web messaging, I'm into copywriting, I'm into content marketing, I'm into all those things. And I know what I am, but I know what I'm not. And because I have the ability to say no, it means I have great relationships.
Now, how do you parse that out? Because to a lot of people, those flow into one another.
But that's, so I think there's a couple answers to that. So the first thing is, I think it's impossible to even answer those things, because here's the problem. People want to see the end of the trail before they start to even walk it. And that's impossible. You must start this journey, start to walk the trail before the trail will become unfolded before your eyes. And you're probably never going to see the end, because the end never comes. We're constantly developing who we are, our doctrine, our beliefs. The same is true for our business. We're constantly developing what really is our business model. What do we love? What can we be the best in the world at? What do we need to eliminate because it's obviously not helping our business? It's not our passion area, whatever you want to call it. It's not our skill area. We're constantly figuring these things out, right? I'm no different than anyone else. But because I can clearly say I don't get incredible satisfaction out of working with Twitter and Facebook with clients, okay? Because I don't get that, I just don't offer it. And it empowers me, because I see people all the time, businesses, etc. They try to be a jack of all social media trades. They end up becoming a master of none. Yeah. And there's nothing special about them. You're so much better off if you can become a master of one. River pools we didn't mess around really with Facebook and Twitter because, people aren't bragging online that, hey, I just bought a $50,000 pool on Twitter. It just doesn't really happen. Now, does that mean that we could have never have gotten a lead off of Twitter or Facebook? Of course we could have. But for me, we saw that our sweet spot where we could become the master of our domain was by producing content on our website and a blog, and it became a sensational success, right? And we just didn't waste time trying to be anything but that. We knew what we could do and we could do it well. And once we got the textual side of things, then we embraced YouTube because that really aligned with who we wanted to be as teachers. And now we've got millions of views on YouTube as well. Really, so that's our philosophy. And I think if businesses, the quicker they can figure that out, Josh, man, they're just happier to go to work each day.
Well, I think too, you're hitting on two really good, because it sounds like, being that you're focused on the website and on YouTube, essentially you're focused on the online space in general and through video. And obviously video is huge and only growing. And it is, perhaps the best way to really make that connection with somebody that you've never met, right? If you can see somebody, if you can talk to somebody, I've thought about making the podcast a video podcast, but just logistically, it's just much easier to do an audio one. And that's still a great way to connect with somebody. But the idea that you're speaking to people through audio, through video, and through your writing, and addressing their actual problems is such a great way to build up an inherent trust.
Well, it's really interesting to me. We need to, as businesses, teach people in their preferred language to the best of our ability, right? We know that the majority of people are visual learners. And so that does mean that video certainly is going to be the wave of the future. And, with the Sales Lion, I've got textual articles, I've got videos, and I have a podcast. The most intimate of the three is the podcast. And the reason is this. Nobody's ever said to me before, hey, Marcus, I went for a hike the other day. 3 miles up a mountain, and I watched your video the whole time. And it was amazing. It was just perfect. It was what I needed. But I've gotten that with the podcast. The podcast is something where this is how people talk, and this better, maybe better than I do, Josh. People say, thank you for making my workout shorter. You were with me the whole time. Man, it's so nice when you're with me on my drive to work because the traffic doesn't bother me so much. You see, you can't say that with video and you can't say that with text, but daggum, you can say it with a podcast. Now, see, the thing though about a podcast is it's not as effective in every industry, right? And so it works well in the marketing space, but I don't foresee myself having a podcast, at least for some time in the swimming pool space. That doesn't mean one couldn't be successful. I just don't know if I would have enough returns. But when it comes to video in the swimming pool space, darn straight, very visual product, right? Whereas marketing is more of a service. And so it's just a different feel. Podcasting works very well. Whereas pools, video, but text as well. Everything has its own place, right? The key is that we figure it out and we're able to adjust, right? So the core principle to each one is, how can I be the best teacher in the space? Well, if I want to be the best teacher in the marketing space, podcasting makes a lot of sense. If I want to be the best teacher in the swim pool space, visual is first, then text, maybe eventually podcast, but not right now.
Is there a difference between marketing B2C versus B2B? Business?
I don't think so at all. And it drives me crazy, Josh, that it used to be that I would teach at an event, at a conference or whatever, and then at the end when people are asking questions, they would say, Marcus, that was really nice, what you did with your pool company, but you see, we're a B2B company, and how does this apply to us? And Josh, I would hear that, and I would shed tears within my soul because I'm like, this person doesn't get it. And of course, now today, literally every single presentation I give, every conference, whether it's 2,000 or 2 people, the first question I ask is, so who here is the exception to everything I'm getting ready to say? And then for about 5 minutes, we have a discussion as to why it doesn't matter what you are, B2B, B2C, or in Virginia, DC, they say B2G, which is business to government. There's always a person behind the acronym. And the principles, it's like if someone says, here's the thing, when people say, how does this apply to B2B? I'm like, okay, so do you think teaching is important in B2B? Well, yes, of course it is. Do you think communication is important in B2B? Oh, yeah, of course it is. Do you think being incredibly helpful is important in B2B? Oh, yeah, I guess it is. Why do we do this to ourselves? We're killing ourselves with stupid acronyms and putting ourselves in a corner when in reality we're missing the mark and therefore not getting the most that we could out of all these incredible marketing and sales opportunities because of these self-labels that are just, oh my goodness, I could go on all day about that one, Josh, but I'll just leave it at that.
No, I love it. I love it because I had a conversation with a great friend of mine who's a business guy, successful business owner, and I convinced him the same thing that you've been saying. But at first, he was way skeptical. And I was talking about social media and content marketing and how you are basically taking sales and marketing and turning them, together and telling stories that are, once you identify who your target customer is and what they know and what they feel and what they think and what they're concerned about. It's almost like it's kind of freaky when you think about it, but it's like Amazon, right? You go and purchase something on Amazon, and next thing you know, they're like making suggestions to you like they're your best friend or they're your spouse or something. It's like, how do they know that I want to read that exact book? Well, they nailed it, and now on to the next. And so the idea is they understand that. And so, but I think what gets people hung up is that people who are in quote unquote unsexy businesses, right? So it's like, hey, I make these little widgets that go onto another part. I mean, how is the internet, how is social media, nobody cares about that. And so yeah.
Yeah, so here's a question that I love to ask groups when I'm talking to companies, and I've dealt with some crazy niche-y companies before. And the question is, over the years since you've been in business, how many different questions have you received from prospects and customers? I have never heard, Josh, anybody say less than hundreds, if not thousands. That's the same answer every single time. Hundreds, if not thousands, right? And then the next question is, okay, of those hundreds, if not thousands of questions that you've been asked, how many are answered right now on your website? And then everybody starts to give that look of shame because the average is somewhere between 10 to 20 questions. So what happens? You have all these B2B companies, they hire all these salespeople. And what are these salespeople doing? All day long, they're spending all their time answering the exact same stupid questions over and over again. If you're answering the same questions over and over again every day as someone in sales, it's because your marketing, frankly, stinks. And you see, it took me a long time to realize that as a pool guy. I would go into homes, I'd answer the same questions over and over again. I would roll my eyes eventually. I would think, geez, that person was, good grief, come on, are you kidding me? And I realized at some point in time, it's your fault, dummy. Marcus, you're the ding-dong here, not them, because a lead is as good or as bad as the website or the marketing that brought them there. That's just how it works. And so, there's a magical number out there right now. And I'm sure you've heard of Josh, but I got to say this for your audience. So Google came out with this thing, which is 0 moment of truth. And 0 moment of truth is basically the first time somebody contacts you, like they email you, they call you, they walk into your office, whatever that is. All right. So that's 0 moment of truth. And they've said that 70% of the buying decision is made before 0 moment of truth. This is what their studies have shown, and the number is growing. In other words, before the person calls your company, 70% of the decision is already made. And here's what's funny to me. If that is true, what is more important today, sales or marketing? Well, of course, the answer is marketing.
Yeah.
But if you ask companies, what are they doing to try to help their business? How many people do they have in marketing? 1, 2, maybe? How many sales do they have? They usually have 10x in sales, maybe 20x in sales. It's totally screwed up. That's why sales and marketing need to merge in most cases. Sales needs to be intricately involved in marketing because sales are the ones that hear the questions every day. Sales are the ones that should be the best at answering the questions. Marketing's job is not to be a great teacher because they don't have the practice, y'all. Marketing's job is to get those incredible answers, those questions, and those answers from sales and help facilitate that and put that information on the website, on the other digital platforms. But unfortunately, right now, in most organizations, we see silos. The two departments do not communicate. And so you have people that are trying to run the digital messaging side of the company and marketing that have really no clue as to the true needs, questions, concerns, and problems of the customer. And then you have the people in sales who are aloof as to what's happening digitally. And the whole time, the customer is already making 70% of their decision before they ever even talk to somebody in sales the first time. It's profound. It's not going to change. It's only going to get worse.
So then what do you do with these companies that have these operations already set up? I mean, what's your recommendation to get them on the same page?
Well, I there's a few things that we do, and I've talked a ton about this on the sales line, but I call this process insourcing. Insourcing is the process of using your existing employees as content producers, i.e. teachers and communicators, through text and through video. So the purpose of marketing is to help everybody do just that, become a better teacher, derive that information from them. Well, how does a culture like that become established? Well, there's a couple steps that have to occur. Number one, you've got to have buy-in from management. This is definitely trickle-down economics. In other words, if management doesn't say, marketing is critical to us, marketing is the new sales. If they don't say that, and if they don't say we're going to do whatever's necessary to make our messaging, our digital brand exceptional, well, then you're going to stink. Okay, that's number one. Number two, what I have found is most companies, they need some type of major workshop, or just getting back to Simon Sinek, they need to understand the why. Why are we asking you to become or help us write blog articles, help us do videos? Why? Because people want to say, well, I'm in sales. That's not what I do. You're in marketing. Go do your marketing thing. I would do my sales thing. They're missing the mark. They don't understand the what, the how, and the why. So you have to have some type of workshop, something that's more than just an email that says, hey, y'all, I need you to help me write blog articles. That doesn't work. It stinks, and it's built to fail immediately. So that's the second thing. And then the third thing is you need to have a person within the marketing department, which their whole really goal or duty is to help organize all this content, help people answer all these questions, help get that stuff on the website, take articles that are really on a scale of 1 to 10, they're maybe just a 5 in terms of quality, and turn it into a 7 or 8 or a 9 in terms of quality, right? Because some salespeople just aren't going to be that good at writing, but we can help them mold it into something that's really good. And we could record videos and do interviews with them that are answering these questions, because a lot of people in sales are much better talking than they are writing. And so that's why the video marketing is so important. But there needs to be a person that's just in charge of that. They're not distracted by anything else. And this isn't a lot of organizations. Now, granted, if you're a solopreneur, you might not have enough for this. But if you're doing $1 million or more in business, and most of my clients are in the 10 million above range, almost all of my clients have a person that's just singularly devoted to their content marketing efforts, right? This they ask, we answer philosophy and embracing the power of teaching communication through text and video.
And so tell me this: how did you go? Or what was, before we finish? Because we've been talking for 35 minutes and it has flown by, so it's been a great conversation. But a question for you on how you went from, obviously you created that popular blog with the pool company, and then you made a decision to then say, okay, this is where I'm going to go. What was that process like for you? Because I think that's instructive for people out there who are considering making a change themselves, right? People who are either in a corporate job they hate, or maybe recently let go, or trying to decide what they want to do. And they have ideas, they have dreams, they have things they want to go after. What was that like for you after you had some success in turning around the pool company, and then you essentially said, I'm going to go do this whole other thing?
Well, I'm going to give you a very unsexy answer here, because the answer is I didn't know what I was doing. Literally, I started blogging with River Pools in March of 2009. In November of that same year, I start the sales line because I'm like, this blogging stuff is awesome. I want to tell people about it, right? I didn't know it was going to turn into this big company with employees that was going to help me to travel and speak around the world and all this junk. I had no idea. I never set out for that. I just said, I've got important things that need to be shared. And so I approached it in that light. And then the thing is, Josh, it didn't pick up traction for like the first 12 to 18 months. I mean, nobody was beating down my door. And so, the overnight success story was about 2 years. And then it started to really get momentum. The sales line did. And now it just all started to really, really snowball. but I'm constantly developing. I didn't know for the first 3 years that I would have employees. Today I do. I didn't know that speaking would generate as much money as consulting. Today it does. I didn't know any of these things. I think the great divide oftentimes in this industry are the companies that have to have a roadmap. They've got to have this rule book, and and that's why, Josh, and this is offensive to some, and I'm happy to say that it should be. That's why the internet, generally speaking, is owned by C students, and the A students are working for the C students online. And the reason for that is because A students, they think everything's got to be just right. They've got to be super prepared. It's got to be perfect, just like when they took that test in high school or college. But this isn't high school or college. This is not a little circle that you just perfectly fill in with your number 2 lead pencil. No, it doesn't work like that. What works here is that you're very agile, you're nimble, you're willing to screw up all the time, you're okay with the fact that you don't have a roadmap, you're constantly experimenting because you're so dynamic, and you're just looking for ways to be more helpful. You will launch a product if it's a 7 out of 10 versus a 10 out of 10, and you'll figure it out as you go. Those are the most successful businesses and brands online. Those are the ones, not the ones that are seeking perfection. This is not NASA. You're not launching a spaceship. You do not have to have all systems go. That is not the way that content marketing and social media work. And until you let go of that need for perfection, there's a very good chance you're not going to be very good at this, and you're not going to gain a lot of momentum.
So are you launching some products online, or do you have products online that you sell along with your consulting and your speaking and all that?
No, I just, and I could, but for me, it's because my list is pretty substantial of people that have downloaded my ebook and stuff. But, mainly it's just the speaking. I have my own event called the Remarkable Growth Experience, which is, we had the first one this past year. It was profound. It was in November. It's in Washington, D.C. It's unlike any event out there because it combines sales and marketing together. It's the only conference that I know of that literally combines sales and marketing. And so salespeople come and they catch the vision for marketing. Marketing people come, they catch the vision for sales. It's freaking awesome.
Oh, I'm coming to it. I got to come.
It's called the Remarkable Growth Experience. It's just tremendous. And I'm not saying that because it's mine. I do it with 2 other people that are literally world-class speakers. One's world-class with sales. He's as good as anybody I've ever seen. One is literally world-class with customer service and experience. You put the 3 together, that's the big 3. And that's what we're all trying to say. And it's just very different in that regard. Most conferences today are just one thing. They're just sales. They're just marketing. They're just this. They're just that. And I said I wanted something very different and something incredibly intimate. And that was why I didn't call it a conference. I called it a Remarkable Growth Experience. And so I do that. And yeah, I speak all over the world now. Josh, I cannot believe it. In the last 6 weeks, and this is going to sound arrogant, I don't mean it to, but because I started answering questions as a pool guy 5 years ago, over the last 6 weeks, I've been paid to speak in Cancun, Fort Lauderdale, and then in Disney World. And I brought my family on every single one of those trips. That's
awesome. My
life is completely changed. And the relationship I have with my family today, with my wife and with my 4 kids, has never been better. And it's all because of this simple philosophy that changed my life.
Well, I think, your passion is awesome. I love it. I'm a passionate guy myself, and I really love what you're doing. I've been following your podcast and continue to look forward to doing that. And I definitely want to come to that conference. That conference sounds incredible. It's going to be in November again.
Yeah, it's going to be in November. I'll put the new, landing page, if you will, sales page, whatever you want to call it, on the sales line soon. But yeah, it's going to be in November. And once again, you see, the funny thing about it before, I didn't promote it hard because I said I'm not going to bring in more than 75 people because I want it to be the most intimate conference anybody has ever attended. And I sold out the 75 so fast that I sent one email out and I didn't send another. I didn't have to. And it was profound, man. It's going to be great again. And this time I'm going to cap it at 100. That's all it's going to be there, 100 people.
Nice. Well, listen, I've occupied so much of your time, so I really, really appreciate it. You've been awesome. But before we go, tell people how they can reach you and anything else.
Yeah. So I think one of the best things, if you liked what you heard today, and if you want to be able to apply it even more in detail, on the saleslion.com, the salesline, LION.com, there's a free ebook. It costs nothing. It took me about 2 years to write. It's about 240 pages. You can go there, you can download it, and I think it's going to help you out a lot. It's helped over 20,000 people with their businesses and with their life. You can find me at Twitter at the Sales Lion, and you can email me Marcus the number 1 at thesalesllion.com. Those are the 3 places, Josh. Oh yeah, and Mad Marketing is the podcast. Dude, it's been my pleasure. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Well, keep on going, my man. You're on the rocket ship heading north. So keep it going, my friend, and we will talk soon.
Thanks for being with us today on the Franchise Euphoria podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to go to iTunes and provide a review. Also, please remember that although Josh Brown is a licensed and practicing attorney, nothing contained in this podcast should be construed as legal advice, because it is not. The information contained in this podcast is general and educational in nature, and none of it should be relied upon as legal advice. That being said, if you have questions for Josh and would like to contact him, please email him at josh@franchiseeuphoria.com. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope you tune in to our next weekly episode.